honorable members of the committee. Standing before you is Ms. Daisy Gambalame, the Chief Executive Officer for MCCCI. Thank you.
Welcome, and you may take your seats. Honorable members and MCCI, welcome to this engagement. Feel free. This is your parliament. This is your forum. We represent you, and we want to do our job better through these engagements. I take you to the objective of the invitation. You have been invited as MCCCI to share with us the policy issues governing the industry and trade in the country. We understand you represent a core group, which is the business community. We therefore expect a lot from you. We expect that we are going to understand the needs, but also the opportunities that lies in the country at a glance from across the industries. Therefore, feel free. And before we proceed, allow me to introduce the membership of this committee. Thereafter, I will also give you a chance to introduce your team. Honorable members, let's therefore proceed with introductions, starting from my far left.
Good afternoon, Honorable Chairperson. My name is Jeff Tamale. I represent the people of Nchinji Central East constituency.
Good afternoon, Chair, and our guest. My name is Masauku Gordon Salijeni, representing the people for Blantyre City, Mbayani Musa Magasa constituency. Thank you, Chair.
You can as well finish off if in case any of them are your members back in the constituency, because I know MCCI team, a good number of them reside within Blantyre, if not all, and then possibly you might be their MP.
Thank you very much. Through you, Chair. My name is Tony Fletcher, MP for Chilazuru Masanjara constituency. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Chair. I am Howard Nzamboyolemba, MP for the Zaboma constituency.
Good afternoon, Chair. I'm Lloyd Malola, representing the people of Chikwankombezi. Thank you.
Chair, good afternoon. I'm Fisher Nkwazi, representing the people of Nzimbarweles. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair. My name is Mason Jambo, representing people of Zomba Antonia. Thank you, Chair.
Chair, I'm Francis Kasera from Sanji Central.
Good afternoon, Chair. I'm Felix Njawala, Mwanza Central constituency.
Honorable Chisi West, can you proceed with introducing yourself?
Thank you, Chair. My name is Moses Chagana from Chisi West constituency.
Through you, Honorable Chairperson, I am Sunge Kalomo, Parliament Secretariat.
At this moment, let me know if we have external media representatives other than the parliamentary media team. Maybe they will be joining us. Let me also make mention that a few more members will be joining us. We had an extended morning with the other stakeholders. So that has possibly contributed to the delay in arrival. But they are coming, and they will be introduced as they come. Akim Kumwenda, the Member of Parliament from Zimba West constituency. I was checking here, I could be the only one from the lake. At least there is a lake back home, Lake Azone. I chair this parliamentary committee on industry, trade, and tourism. We are your possibly point of call here at Parliament. Let me give you this moment to introduce your team.
Thank you very much, Chair, and through you, and thank you to your honorable committee. My name is Daisy Vakarathiwe Kambalame. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the Malawi Confederation of Chambers of Commerce and Industry. With me today, I have 3 members of my team. To my left is Moses Kaviliro. He's the Director of Institutional Development at the Malawi Confederation of Chambers of Commerce and Industry. And to my right, we have Mrs. Wezi Mngoni. She is the Director of Membership Development with the Chamber. And further to the right is Mr. Chansen Kandawire. He is our economist. That's the team that has accompanied me today, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. As Elia said, most welcome to Parliament. I want to find out, did you prepare a presentation?
Yes, Chair, we've prepared a presentation, first to introduce the chambers and institution, and also to tackle on some of the challenges that we note for the noting and commentary of your committee, and also some of the proposed solutions that we have been presenting as part of the suggestions from the private sector. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will therefore be giving you time to make your presentation. And before you do, in case you have opening remarks, you do that and then proceed with your presentation. You have 40 minutes for both your remarks and the presentation. Welcome, and it's over to you.
First of all, thank you very much, Chair, and through you, I would want to first of all really express our appreciation for this opportunity. I have been working with the Chamber for 2 years, and throughout that time, our interaction with Parliament has pretty much been coming in to listen to the budget presentation and the State of the Nation address, and then we make a public commentary. We've never had an opportunity to sit with members of Parliament and committees this way. And personally, I also want to acknowledge, Chair, the initiative that you've taken, because you've been proactive in actually initiating contact. For us, I think we're taking it as business as usual, that we never really have that one-on-one contact. But I also want to acknowledge the initiative that was also taken by the Speaker, because we were invited to have an interaction with members of the of Parliament during the business dinners that they had organized. So for us, I think we're seeing that proactive interaction and initiation as something that is really positive, especially considering the role that Parliament makes in setting the tone for the economy, and the role that the private sector plays in being the engine of economic growth and being the driver of economic growth. So this direct interaction actually provides us a key platform to be able to highlight some of the challenges that we see. But it also means that as you're making decisions, we will have a platform where we can also share some of the solutions that we see, instead of maybe just sharing them through the reporters, because they are also bound to edit as they see fit. But in this case, having this opportunity to interact with you directly provides us a very good opportunity, and we do appreciate the opening that you have created, and we look forward to even more active interaction and also feedback on some of the issues that we actually present, because every year when we do provide feedback, we do an analysis of what were the considerations that were taken and how are we moving forward. So I think this, our presentation will also cover some of that, and also provide, in a way, a snapshot of some of the structural challenges and the frameworks that are also affecting development in Malawi. So through you, Chair, allow me to now go through our presentation, and then I'll have further comments at the end. I'll just quickly go back to the first page. So, Chair, I'll look, first of all, the preamble will cover what MCCI is about, and then I'll look at some of the key industries, especially looking at manufacturing and tourism, which are covered under your committee, and also some of the historical background that are actually affecting the progress that we are making and the challenges that are being faced, and the proposed economic priorities for Malawi as I conclude. So first of all, MCCI, the Malawi Confederation of Chambers of Commerce and Industry, is an apex business body. The association has been in existence for over 100 years, and it has survived different periods of Malawi as a nation. And it represents businesses from all sectors of the economy. So there are no sectors that are not covered under the economy. And also businesses of all sizes. So it's not just for large corporations, but even individual-owned businesses. It serves as a collective voice for the private sector, representing interests of the businesses by advocating for a conducive business environment that enables businesses to grow, compete, and also contribute to national economic development. Through our engagement mainly with government, and in this case regulators like yourselves, and also development partners and other stakeholders. The chamber now has registered members of about 350. So those are the ones that are registered, but we also have an active participation of up to 600 businesses. But if you look at the scope of businesses in general, this is also quite a small number, though because of the sizes of some of the members, it might seem to cover a significant portion of the economy. Our main focus looks at really looking at business linkages, partnership, trade and investment promotion, policy advocacy, and business development services. Our main events, the first one is the Lakeshore Business Summit, and this one, we've used it as a precursor for looking at the year and also reflecting on the impact of business. So normally we would have policy engagement, and we invite different ministries to engage with the CEOs to look at what are the challenges and where do we actually partner and come together and prioritize for the year. We also host the Malawi International Trade Fair, the National Agriculture Fair, and in the last 2-3 years, we've been looking at regional. So most of these activities, the fairs are held in Blantyre, but we also have now started looking at regional. So the last 2 years, we've had a Zomba SME Fair, and this year we'll have Zuzu SME Fair as well. But we also look at specific sector issues. Because of the nature of where manufacturing is, we have actually now been hosting manufacturing conference to look at some of the issues to try and promote manufacturing, and also innovation and entrepreneurship fair. The Innovation and Entrepreneurship Fair came on board as one of the solutions, considering the challenges that the youth are also facing when it comes to finding jobs, and the fact that there is a shortage of jobs and most people are not employed. We said we need, as the chamber, to also promote entrepreneurship in our country and also promote those that have got innovative ideas and linking them with businesses that might actually be able to take up some of the innovation that they introduce. So this product was introduced last year. On the policy front, there are quite a number of forums that we have in place. We have the public-private dialogue forum. That is the main dialogue forum that really looks at how the public sector is engaging with the private sector. We used to have a presidential private sector council, but this has not been active over the last 3 years. We are involved in budget formulation. We provide input during the consultation process. But after the budget has been published, we also provide an analysis to look at the impact that the proposed budget will have on the private sector. We have used our linkages to also expand and interact with other regional chambers. So we have a standing MOU now with the Zimbabwe Chamber of Commerce, as well as the Tanzania Chamber of Commerce, but we're also looking at other players within the region, such as Zambia and Kenya, who we've already initiated discussion. The reason why we did this at the business front was because we know that under the different protocols, Malawi government has got relationships within the region. But we also saw that when our members face problems, sometimes going through the public sector might take a long time. So we've now initiated direct relationships so that when businesses actually face problems, whether they're importing or trading or traveling through the region, we can be able to assist them quite quickly. Annually, we also take on a business climate survey that provides feedback to look at the climate on the economic climate within the country and also the challenges that businesses are facing. But beyond these, we also publish sector-specific issues, or sometimes depending on the topics that are affecting businesses, we do actually carry out different publications. Our governance is structured. We have overall trustees that are mainly custodians of the institutional integrity, providing long-term guidance and safeguarding assets, and also ensuring that there is continuity of MCCI's mission, being the voice of the private sector. Every 2 years, members from the private sector are elected into the council, and they provide strategic oversight, just like any board for private sector. Then when we come to the institution, the executive committee is responsible for policy direction and decision making. And the executive committee comprises of myself as the CEO and 3 directors. One of them is not here with us. He's responsible for director of economic business environment. Unfortunately, he's on other duties in Nairobi. The Secretariat has professional staff of now a staff complement of 18 that manage daily operations and also member services. Our membership base, as I mentioned, is broad, representing across industries and ensuring inclusivity and balanced advocacy. Now, I would like us to really start to zero in on some of the key issues, especially areas that your committee, Honorable Chair, might be interested in. As a chamber, we actually recognize that industrialization and tourism are critical to the economy, offering strong potential for growth, job creation, and foreign exchange earning. However, these continue to perform below expectations, a situation that has even become more pronounced in recent years due to economic shocks. And especially even now, as we hear about the upcoming El Nino, we also feel that this is also going to provide even more challenges. Revamping Malawi's industrialization and the tourism sector is an essential part of the National Economic Recovery Plan. But successful revitalization of the sector is also dependent on the ability to unlock private financing, either through public-private partnership or special purpose vehicles. The reason why we're also highlighting the need for unlocking private financing is that much as we've noticed that there is a plan in place, we also know that the economic challenges that Malawi is going through will not be easy to finance that plan, but we need to look at ways of getting private sector financing into the plan. Just looking at the outlook of the manufacturing sector and the tourism sector, you can see that the biggest percentage is from tobacco products. And food is the other one that is also quite essential, so it takes about 20%. Then we have chemicals and chemical products, followed by beverages. Other metallic minerals are quite small, and then there are other essential part on electricity generation and water supply. If you look at the tourism sector as a whole, Malawi attracts about 700 to 800,000 visitors annually. It contributes about 743 billion. This is the data that we have from 2023, 2024, 2025. We don't have direct data, but provides about 586,000 jobs. And these are mainly pre-pandemic period, but we've seen that there's now recovery, but that recovery has been slow. But the reason why we wanted to highlight this was that this is a sector that we already know how to implement, and this is a sector that has provides good opportunities as well. When it comes to contribution on GDP and looking at GDP growth, you can see that the trends that are there. So from 2021 or 2020, you can see that there was a huge drop, but we saw that from 2023, there's been a bit of a recovery, and we are hoping that we can actually continue with this recovery. Now, compared to, this is where now your committee chair also plays a big role. If you look at the budget allocation, you can see that for agriculture, mining and energy, those take up quite a considerable amount. But if you compare that with manufacturing and tourism, it feels like it's a drop, even though it has got potential to actually really have a huge impact on Malawi's economy. Historically, the growth and development of Malawi's manufacturing sector has been shaped by economic policies and strategic intervention that have responded both to exogenous and endogenous forces across different periods. So there was a time that we were focusing on import substitution, so that was early on, 1964 to 79. And then we have the transition to export-oriented industrialization, and now we are focusing on private sector-led industrialization and also export-oriented growth. But these are also guided by the privatization program, the private sector development policy, the micro, small, and SME development policy, and also the Malawi export strategies 1 and 2, but also now Vision 2063, and I think especially in the interim, we're also going to be looking at the new recovery plan. But when we look at these policies, most of the times I think we are reactive. We adjust to external shocks, such as global market fluctuations and regional trade dynamics, whilst simultaneously trying to address some of the internal challenges. So I think the key issue is that sometimes we need to also be purposeful to look at how are we driving and how proactive are we being in driving the policy. The sector's evolution, therefore, reflects not only domestic policy choices, but also the country's adaptive responses to changing global and regional economic conditions. The policy implementation in Malawi has often fallen short of expectations and undermining the achievement of industrialization and tourism objectives. So if we look at all the documents that are referred to, when you look at the actual plan, you can see that most of the times we're really ambitious. But where we fall short is that we do not follow through on actual implementation. Whereas others can actually also take our plans, and when they implement, we can actually see the difference. So sometimes when it gets challenging, or sometimes maybe we lose focus, we leave out the plan or start developing a new plan because we want to address something else. So that in itself has led to this cyclical disruption that we've seen that it continues to actually add to the persistent financial challenges that we're seeing. And when we assessed, we see that this stems from persistent financing challenges, and this is why we're also looking at the need of unlocking private sector financing, shifting political priorities, and sometimes technological disruption and lack of investor confidence. The failure to overcome these barriers has prevented the delivery of outlined objectives, leaving the sector below their potential. So some of the challenges that we've actually seen, and we've focused on a few because we do understand that there are quite a number of challenges, but we can't solve everything in one go. So we've actually now zeroed in on some of the issues that we've seen affecting Malawi. So they're under diversified production base. So manufactured goods comprise mainly of agriculture products. I think we showed that slide that actually looked at where we are manufacturing. There's low level of value addition, and also export markets remain undiversified. We are, yes, exposed to climatic shocks as inputs, and mainly because of also dependence on rain-fed agriculture, our heavy dependence on imported machinery and fuel, and also sensitive to market dynamics because of our tendency to export primary products. So those, most of the times, actually do face quite sensitive markets. We've seen that there's a trend that is declining through the years, characterized by the missing middle. So we have a few big players and multiple SMEs that are actually failing to grow. The share of the bigger firms is also declining. Actually, Chair, in the last 2 years, when we've done our business climate survey, most of the companies have actually reported operating at an efficiency rate of below 70%. So that actually means that we are losing, every year we're losing about 30% of our efficiency rates because of the challenges. And the main challenges that the private sector is facing, first one is the macroeconomic imbalance. So inflation, forex availability, and the cost of financing. We also find that there is policy inconsistency, especially on taxation policy and sometimes even trading policies that sometimes keep changing, and monetary policy that also determines the cost of financing. Yes, we've seen that geopolitical tensions have affected our private sector, especially on the supply chain disruptions, like we've seen now with the disruption because of the Iran war. Aid slowdown, I think we're all aware of the changes that our development partners have actually taken on, and also some of the trade wars that we face even within the region. Climatic shocks have led to declining supply of industrial inputs and also infrastructure damage. Honorable Chairperson, these are some of the specific challenges that the sector is also facing. I think one of the key issues is the high cost of logistics and broader cost of doing businesses. These remain high and significant constraints to export competitiveness. As a result, many businesses are inclined to focus on domestic markets rather than pursue export opportunities. Policy misalignment also contributes to excessive taxation within the domestic production sector, while inadvertently favoring the importation of finished goods, which actually also takes away jobs in Malawi. Just to give one example, A purchase of PVC pipes from a Malawian manufacturer incurs 10% excise duty and 17.5 VAT, leading to a compounded disadvantage of 28.15 for the same transaction, and over incentivized tax-free alternatives from import cover under the CPC 446. So that in itself actually discourages domestic production. Lack of structured markets to aggregate produce for exportation. So establishment of a national commodity exchange is a welcome plan because this has also been proposed. Tax regime, tax regimes actually sometimes discourages investment. Recently, we've seen the reduction, the increase of the deduction of the supernormal profit tax threshold from 10 billion to 5 billion. So for those that are making profits above 5 billion, they are now subjected to a 40% tax rate, income tax rate. But what this does is also reduce the amount of disposable income for reinvestment into the sector. But I think the key issue as well is that it sends the wrong message, because by saying that, indicating that at 5 billion, in Malawi, this is a supernormal profit. Any investor who wants to invest, say, in mining or other industries is looking at that figure, and if you convert it into dollars, that is not significant. So that also discourages big investors that are looking to invest in our country. Inconsistent foreign exchange management policy has also led to inefficiencies in the system. And we've questioned the fact that for exporters that are generating forex for this country, when they want to access the same forex, they're either meant to pay a premium or are not able to access the same. This discourages the incentive for domestic companies to actually export because of the cost. And also the parallel pricing model also creates inefficiencies that are not helping and also importing inflation into the country. There's also concern, especially from the finance sector, on the unclear debt restructuring framework. And this one, we're really keen to also engage with the ministry to understand the terms that they're going to provide, because by leaving it unclear, it also creates uncertainty within investors in the financial sector. So some of the proposals that we have looked at, we really need to look at policies that help us to on export diversification and also market expansion. So Malawi must really accelerate efforts to broaden its export base across multiple sectors and geographies. We can leverage on the regional trade frameworks such as the AFCTA, and these will help us to unlock certain markets. We've seen that there is potential, especially even within East Africa, for our pulses and other products, but we need to be focused and purposeful to look at how we increase our productivity levels and also provide incentives for those that are really looking at commercial agriculture production. Policy coherence is key, and government ought to prioritize the advancement of coherent and consistency policy framework to ensure effective governance and long-term stability. Fiscal discipline and public finance reform. I think this is also key to ensure that there is stability in the market, and we appreciate the measures that are being taken to instill fiscal discipline, but we feel that we have to continue to adhere to that and also ensure that our monetary policies are there to reduce uncertainty for businesses. Infrastructure development. We need to look at continued investment in energy, transport, and ICT infrastructure, which is vital to support industrialization and digital transformation. And in this, we also would like to encourage more private sector participation in investment, because with this is where we see the potential for growth. And these are the areas that we are proposing that there should be more public-private partnership or creation of special purpose vehicles that will enable for such investment. We've seen that even in road construction here in Lilongwe, the involvement of the private sector has speeded up rehabilitation of certain roads. We can actually also try and maximize and also use those lessons to extend the same system to other areas. Climate resilient production systems. We need to strengthen agriculture and industrial supply chains through climate adaptive technologies. And in this case, we're also looking at encouraging policies that actually will help us to stop relying on rain-fed agriculture and actually look at more commercial production. Enhancement of investment incentives. So government ought to review and align incentives to enhance long-term investments. As a way forward, we appreciate the role that is being played to engage with the chamber, and would really want to ensure that as proposals come forward, we have a better chance of providing feedback probably before decisions are being made, to look at better collaboration between the committee, MCCI, on realistic budget allocation towards industrialization oversight role in project formulation and also implementation. We pray that policies should strike a balance between meeting the broader economic goals and also protecting the competitiveness and sustainability of domestic industries. Engagement between the private sector and the government is key, and that's why we're also really appreciative of this opportunity that you've provided to us. Honorable Chair, I would like to thank you and your committee. This was the presentation that we prepared to provide information on some of the issues of the private sector. Thank you.
Thank you very much, CEO. In case your team may have comments, I will still give you some few minutes to do that. Thereafter, we'll get into plenary, where the committee members will surely have feedback on your presentation, but also on policy issues that relate to the industry. Over to you in case there is any.
Honorable Chair, it seems no one has got anything additional, but maybe during the plenary, they might be able to add more information. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and indeed, thank you for your presentation. It gives a picture of what MCCCI is, and how already it provides the opportunities for collaboration with us as Parliament and as your committee. Honorable members, I now would like to recognize takers on the floor. By show of hands, I see Chinji Central West. Okay, East. So the first East is not East enough, but East. Okay, so I recognize Chinji East, and then we'll come to Nsanje Central, and then Mwanza Central, in that order, honorable members.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chairperson. Through you, I would like to thank the Chief Executive for the elaborate presentation. Chinji Central East is aware and appreciates the impact of the private sector in running the economy of the country. And in the presentation, Honorable Chairperson, there was a mention, or they have highlighted a number of challenges that they think this country is going through, of which some issues of inflation, lack of forex, and I believe these are some of the issues that stifling development in the private sector. Honorable Chairperson, I wanted to find out from them if they have immediate solution to some of these issues, because we know as government alone, it cannot actually bring all these issues to an end without the involvement of the private sector. For example, issues of forex. What do you think the government should do as an immediate solution in order to solve that problem? Thank you so much, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Let's get to Sanjay Central.
Thank you, Chair. Me too, I would like to join my colleague in appreciating the presentation. I have a few questions. You have informed the committee that you are doing something in the sector of innovation, and you organize innovation fairs. And I'm aware also of the fact that we have other stakeholders that are also in this sector, in this space, National Youth Council, MACRA. I just want to understand whether there is any coordination, because my engagement with one of those was that it seems there are several efforts, but they are disjointed. Maybe you can share more light on how we are working together with other stakeholders in this space. My second question, Chair, is to understand whether, as a chamber, we are doing something to have an MOU with the South African Chamber of Commerce. As a business economy, I think our biggest trading partner or trading country is South Africa. And I should believe there are more Malawians that get issues in South Africa than in another country in our region. The third one, Chair, with your permission, I want to understand whether the Chamber is doing anything to try and curb corruption in our economy. One of the things that is derailing the growth of our economy is the level of corruption in the country. And for sure, corruption is mostly between the business people and those that are providing the business, public sector versus private sector. I'm not sure whether the Chamber has anything in this sector to try and support the efforts of the public sector. Lastly, Chair, you have talked about the high cost of logistics. I'm aware that when we were signing an agreement with the Valley Logistics, one of the things that we insisted then was that there should be space in that corridor, in the Nakala corridor, for the goods to Malawi. But I'm aware that that space is not being fully utilized. Is there any problem with the conditions being provided by Valley Logistics? Because I thought rail transportation is one of the cheapest, and probably we could have reduced on the cost of logistics if we were using the Nakala corridor. We went to Nakala to appreciate the investments that are happening there by the Japanese, but it seems as Malawi, we don't think we were looking at that as an opportunity to help us reduce our cost on logistics. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Let's proceed to Mwanza Central.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good afternoon, CEO. I just wanted to find out what the Chamber is doing to motivate or encourage members of the Chamber, which are businesses, to focus on exports, because our biggest challenge is forex earning, and I think we need to have a deliberate policy or strategy in that regard. So I just wanted to find out. And on a lighter note, Any plans to refurbish the conference hall? Because when you go there now, it looks like it's deserted. The air conditioners seem not to be working. Yes, so I just want to find out if you have plans to refurbish it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mwanza Central says on a lighter note, but it's not really on a lighter note. I want to bring the seriousness to it, and that it's really a point that as your members, as your committee, would like to hear really more about it. You know, you've recently hosted the International Trade Fair. I was personally there. I think I asked you a question somewhat. I don't think it qualifies yet. I was looking at the organization many steps ahead, of course, if I compare with what I've attended before. Nevertheless, it leaves, a lot of room for improvement. The organization of the place, to say less about the exhibitors. There were some, I will not mention them because I'll meet them and I'll talk to them. But they're big international companies that have met in other expos elsewhere where they did excellent jobs. And I felt like here they were only trying to fit in what they have found. I will give them feedback. Yeah, and any plans really to modernize the trade fair? He talked about the whole, but let me talk about the whole place. Do we have any plans to invest in that place so that it fits the kind of a vision that we seem to be having? Because I've seen the ambition grow really. I've seen the participation even from the region growing. There were times when maybe just a country would come. I saw the last one was highly patronized even by our neighbors. Then it calls for a better place. Any plans in that regard? As you're responding, CEO, let me also just seek your view, or maybe a word from you in terms of how you are motivating the SMEs to join the chambers, because you have rightly put in your presentation, and at least I know it's not for those big companies, but it gives an impression today like it's for those companies. Yes, 350 membership, bravo. The businesses are still there, and we're still so many others. Are there any barriers in your view? Is it phase? What really is happening that most of our members don't seem to be represented? Because we're looking for a day when we meet MCCCI, we should proudly say we met every business, and we can conclude matters right there and then without having to go to other small associations again. In that line as well, let me ask your opinion on these too many associations. I kind of think there are too many fractions. Transporters, even within transporters, you find others about trucks, others about cabas, others. Then you go to manufacturing, you also find manufacturing association, etc., etc. What's your view of all these organizations, or that are coming up? CEO, I want to leave it to you to weigh in on what the members have raised.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, through you, and thank you for to the committee for the questions that have been asked. I think it shows the interest that you have. I'll start with the key issue on forex management. Honorable Chair, you'd actually be. I would like to inform you that we've actually just published a paper as a call for alignment on forex management on the policy and also the difference that is there for the parallel rate because I think that's one of the issues when it comes to the motivation for members to actually generate forex. We've made a number of recommendations in how we can manage that because I think one of the challenges has been that once we are sometimes align the actual rate to the market rate, you find that that just fuels inflation and then there's no change. But I think the issue is to ensure that we are managing it in such a way that we are now encouraging those that are not encouraged to bring forex into the formal market. I think one of the observations that we've all made is that you will find that when it comes to importation of products, people have just adjusted by using the parallel market to still bring those products into the country. So you find that there's maybe not a slowdown on vehicles or other products that we actually import on a daily basis. But it means that there is forex that is generated. It's just that it's not being traded in the formal market. So that actually makes the formal sector actually suffer. So some of the proposals that we've made have been to look at, I think there was already a proposal that was discussed in Parliament on ensuring that the 25% surrender requirement should apply after an institution or an organization has paid its import bills. That would encourage those that have got potential to export to actually export more. So those are some of the principles that we can start to build confidence into those that have got potential to export, to actually formally export and actually generate and make sure that the money is coming into the formal banking system. We can also look at adjusting some of the requirements even on NGOs and others, because when that was also introduced, some of the NGOs moved their head offices away from Malawi because they said this is not going to be efficient for us if we're managing funds for a longer period. And then eventually also looking at how do we actually remove the 25% surrender requirement, because you can also appreciate that for an SME, if you are withholding or you are already automatically requesting them to surrender the 25%, some of them that's maybe part of just their profit margins, and they would want to ensure that they're hedging against that. So that already discourages those that are exporting in bringing the money into the formal sector. And what we've also seen, it's encouraging those that are, in a way, just trading on forex and making money because they are taking money from the formal system and trading it on the informal system and still feeding on inflation and inflationary rate. So you find that even other traders will come and indicate that no, we are pegging this based on the parallel rate, not based on the official rate, because this is how I'm procuring my inputs. So that inflationary rate that we're talking about has already happened. So we are already trading at that rate, but you find that access is on the lower rate. So for us, I think that is one of the areas that we can start to gradually improve on that. And then one of the aspects that we also covered in the presentation was the fiscal discipline. Let's really manage our expenditure. What are we spending on? Where are the areas that we can save on purchases? So looking at how many new vehicles are we purchasing for government? What is it that we are using our current forex on? Let's look at maybe reducing it to the requirements for moving the economy, and also how are we allocating the forex that we have. So those would start to generate and actually encourage retention of the forex that is being generated by the private sector into the formal market. But this also helps, the fiscal discipline will also help to build even better relationships, even with our development partners, to look at how can we actually also cushion the effect on the marginalized. Chair, through you, if you would allow us, we'll also share that formally and submit the report, the paper that we have drafted, because it goes into details, and also we've actually gone into the different stages to ensure that the negative effect of inflation and actually just moving it further actually is well managed and cushioned. On innovation, we actually also noted, Chair, through you, we noted that there were so many other innovation hubs and also all these activities that were happening. And that was one of the reasons that motivated us to come into that space, to try and also unify the different players that are already looking at innovation. And also, I think where the value that we bring in is pulling in the private sector as the end users of that innovation, or the end multipliers of that innovation, to actually be part of the platform. So we have been we worked in partnership with the National Youth Council, and also MACRA. We're part of the organization that we worked with, and also the different universities we brought in, and some of them actually also helped to look at what are the prototypes that are being developed. And we are hoping that by bringing in the private sector as well to see the innovation, and also some of the development partners, those are also being taken up to look at how they can expand on that. But we also learned a few lessons, because we saw that some of the innovations that were being displayed were still not yet market ready. So we're now using some of those lessons to see how we can enable those that are innovating new products and also new systems, especially in the ICT area, to look at how we can mainstream that as well. On the MOU with South African Chamber, Honorable Chair, yes, I think this is something that is also of interest to us. We started having discussions through our embassy in South Africa. The Durban Chamber was more responsive, but we felt we needed to look at the National Chamber as well, instead of just looking at Durban, much as Durban is also quite active, and we've seen that they are more proactive, I think, as a chamber. So we've already started having conversations with the Durban Chamber of Commerce, and these are conversations that we're continuing to have, because the policy and the strategy of engaging directly with the chambers, we started last year. So we've been moving at a manageable pace to really understand how we ensure that our members are also getting benefit. On the issue of curbing corruption, I think this is definitely a big challenge for Malawi. But what we've seen is we have been encouraging engagement and through the chamber and through the platforms that we create. And Honorable Chair, I'd want to commend even the engagement that we've had with the ministry now, because any engagement, even with associations or individual companies, they're encouraging that they should come through the chamber. That creates more transparency and accountability, because individual interests are then being curbed, instead of when individual companies start approaching government officers. So we've seen that right now through the Ministry of Industrialization, Business, Trade and Tourism. They've been encouraging even the associations or individual businesses to come and present their issues through the chamber. So that in itself is also now starting to address better governance and more transparency on information that is available. And these are some of the areas that we have been pursuing. But we also know that there are quite a number of businesses that are quite influential but are not within the chamber. As a result, those become really difficult for us to also engage with them, especially when they are not behaving correctly or they are actually promoting corruption. So I think for us, this is also one apex that we are really looking at as we increase our membership, to get to a point where any formal business with government is not going to happen if the company is not registered with a chamber. That's one vision that we would want to see eventually, because that will give you assurance that I'm dealing with a bona fide business. But we know that this is also a loophole that needs to be addressed and also looked into. So apart from capacity building, those are some of the activities that we do. So capacity building is one area that we do actually do training for our members to look at some of the issues, but we also work with them to collect areas where they see there's, in a way, potential for undue influence. And those are some of the areas that we now highlight on policy engagement. On the use of the Nakala corridor and other areas, I think from the chamber perspective, we've seen that, yes, the potential is there, but I think what we've seen is the ease of using the rail line. We've not, in a way, unlocked how best to use it, and also getting enough volumes that it actually now reduces the cost. So we've seen that a few businesses have been looking at ways of using the rail line, and we've also been working with the Central Corridor to look at how we can also use the Dar es Salaam port and also linking Malawi and Tazara to look at other opportunities. And recently, we hosted a delegation from the Zambezia province because they were actually also encouraging for business, looking at encouraging businesses from the southern region to actually use even the Kiliman port, because they were saying that it's even closer than Nakala. So through those engagement with the different chambers, we're trying to also highlight some of the areas that we think can also help on logistics. But we've seen that this is one area that makes our products especially uncompetitive, and especially for SMEs. And this also links to the structured markets, because if you have smaller volumes, it's really difficult for you to get a container load full. Whereas for those that can actually, that do have volumes and are able to amalgamate their products into one container, 140-foot container or 20-foot container, it's easy then to go onto the rail line. So we've seen that for some of the smaller producers, they still find road network to be cheaper because they can also carry smaller loads. So that element that we were looking at earlier on improving productivity and ensuring that we are able to, we also have structured markets that can actually amalgamate our products that would actually also improve efficiency. On the, I think motivating our members to export, I think I've already highlighted that. I think the current structure really makes it difficult for most of the producers to really look at, why am I exporting? I might as well be selling in country. And the current inflation rate, I think we also saw earlier that certain products were actually more expensive in Malawi than within the region. So for most producers, then they'll say, I would actually make better margins in Malawi because of the inflation rates that we're seeing than actually exporting, even though you might be able to get foreign currency. On SME membership, as I mentioned, we have a membership of 350. I think over the last 2 years, we've really tried to make a case to ensure that we are also more inclusive. So currently, out of the 350, 142 are SMEs. So we've really put in an effort, and the main challenge was for most SMEs, they felt that maybe we didn't have specific focus to look at their voices or the challenges that they were facing. So we went under a deliberate effort to really try and also embrace and ensure that we are also flagging their issues. And some of the areas where we've actually made headway is by linking some of the SMEs to even some of the bigger corporates, because these were also opportunities for their own growth, apart from the capacity building that we have. And to the final question, Chair, that I recorded on refurbishment of the conference hall, and as you mentioned rightly, on the trade fair grounds themselves. Honorable Chair, I would like to inform your committee that we do actually have a redevelopment plan in place. We already have designs. We are actually, so the initial building was supposed to be an SME building that is going to be behind, next to Malawi Bureau of Standards, behind the Trade Fair grounds. So that one, we're now in the final phases with the designers to look at the final plans, and also to try and now look at a partner that we can actually develop the place with, because I must mention, I didn't mention it earlier, our finances, we are financed by the membership fees. So you can already see with 350 members, and we've made sure that our rates are also quite accommodative of every business. It's not easy to invest into a big redevelopment plan like that one, but we've actually started conversations with a couple of partners to look at engaging on that. And because the trade fair grounds also provide rentals, which is part of our income, that's why we're also keen to refurbish, because those have been standing for a while, since its inception. So most of them actually need quite a lot of refurbishment, and actually to actually change them. And so the plan is there. I think next time we'll be able to show you some of the designs and the plan that is already there. I think it's only the Chamber House and the Comesa Hall that will remain standing once we've done, because the plans actually include even a hotel and also a new and modern trade fairgrounds as well, from what we've seen elsewhere. My apologies, Chair. I think I forgot your last question on why we have too many associations. I think the challenge that we've seen in Malawi is that partnership doesn't come easy. I think that is a concept that we've seen. So what we've seen is that most of the times there's a lot of fragmentation, and people don't want to look at, okay, what's the bigger picture? What is it that we want to achieve? And that's why for us, we've also been trying to look at how do we ensure that, yes, we capture all voices, but what happens most of the times is that if others feel, oh, I had these two issues, but they will not raise, they will go and have their own engagement. But we've also been encouraged by the strategy that has been taken by the ministry to also ensure that those associations are also coming in under the chamber, because that also helps with policy coherence, because some of the misalignment on policy actually comes from the different interest groups that actually approach government. So you might find that because of vested interest, sometimes policymakers are moved in one direction based on interest of one and not all that are involved in that sector. So that's one of the things that we've seen on the mushrooming of a lot of associations. But we're hoping that by ensuring that there's more transparency and the approach that has been taken to ensure that their voice is also coming through the chamber as a whole, because this is an apex body that will also ensure that all the voices are actually aligned as well to look at what is good for the economy. Yes, it might hurt one sector for a short while, but so long as we're really looking at growth of the economy. Thank you very much, Chair. If I've forgotten anything else, I would like my other members to.
All right, thank you. I think she has responded to most of the things that were asked, but I'll just also just give some further information in terms of the innovation and entrepreneurship. So she did mention some of the partners that we had in organizing this event. But let me also mention that our main partner for the event was the National Commission of Science and Technology, because what we were trying to run away from was us duplicating their efforts, but we wanted to provide this platform where these innovations are going to be used mostly by the private sector. So we wanted this platform where these innovators are going to do a pitch and possibly find either financing or market for their products. And there was also a comment on how we are encouraging SMEs to join the chamber. So in terms of our membership tiers, we see that we have got 5 categories. The 2 lowest ones are priced very low and very affordable, let me say, ranging from possibly 165,000 kwacha and 225,000 kwacha, which we think an SME can afford. And I'll go further to add up on how we are also encouraging SMEs to focus on exports. So if we look at SMEs, most of them are looking for opportunities, business linkages, they are looking for financing and also capacity development. So through our events, we have also done capacity development. Recently, we have trained SMEs on how they can get ready for the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. So we have been training them on which products they can focus on, which countries interested in the products that we are producing. And we have also partnered with MRA in terms of tax compliance. We are encouraging them to register their businesses. Of course, we don't take members on board who are not registered and who are not tax compliant. And adding to that, we are also training them on certification of their products, because if we're looking at the CFTA, then we would like to produce goods that are internationally whose standards are recognized internationally. So we are working on that as well. I think that's what I can comment for now.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, honorable members. Let me take this last set of interventions. I'll begin with Nchisi West and then come to your possibly host back in Blantyre.
Thank you, Chair. I got 2 questions. The first one is on tourism. I note in your presentation that Malawi has an average of 700 to 800 visitors per annum. This translates into some 65, 70 visitors monthly. It translates into some 2-3 visitors daily. Where are we getting it wrong as a country?
Point of order. I just to quote the numbers right, I guess it's 7,000 to 8,000, yeah?
Yes.
700,000 to 800,000.
Oh, not 700.
Yes, sure.
Then I'll withdraw the question. I'll go to the next question. The next question is on I wanted to understand your relationship with the MYTC. Where do you start? Where do you end? Where do they start? Where do they end? I see most of your activities are similar to what they also do. Thank you.
CEO, on his behalf, I'll still put that question on the list for your opinion. 700 to 800,000. We can still improve. I agree with you, Nchis West. That number, nevertheless, still remains small. And what can we do? Where are we getting it wrong that we have such a low patronage, given the high, the nice destinations that we have in country? So please, we don't withdraw that question. It still stands part of the interventions. I had recognized Blantyre City, Bayani Musamagas.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, welcome, CEO and team. Just wanted to find out, we have had the trade fair over the years. as an organization, what could you tell us the impact that it has brought to the national economy? I would say business activities locally and the international business opportunities. Are we progressing, or is it having an impact on the same? Secondly, you did mention that most of the local businesses are not registering with the MCCI. What could be the problem in your own analysis? Why are they afraid to register? You also did mention that some big companies are not coming forth to register. Don't we have the mandate to make it mandatory that each and every business operating locally must register with MCCI? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, honorable members. This is the last set. Let me see if there is another hand. Thank you. CEO, as you're responding to these, just to add weight to the question from Blantyre City and Bayani Musa Magasa constituency, we have had international trade fairs. We've seen people getting into, in courts and courts, the deal room. How much of that is materializing into deals? Are we just about the fair, or is it able to translate to real deals that we can quantify elsewhere and be proud of? I see. I think the question that I asked, it has come back again. Just tells you how we view your institution and how we feel it is important that your reach really expands. We know a good number of the businessmen and women that we represent are in this category, the SMEs. What are you doing intentionally? What interventions do you have that targets to have them to be aware? We want them represented, we want their interests represented, but if they are not reached, if they are not part, I've seen there is a good offer. I think she mentioned about the fees being as low as 125, you said, up to 250. That's very affordable, I would tell you. And speaking on their behalf, because I can, a good number of the people I represent, even in Perembe, are able to pay that where there is value. But possibly they just don't know there is all that value in the chamber. Or maybe is it because you're in Blantyre? Is it because your presence at Lumpi is not there? That takes me to the last question about your presence. Where are you? And why are you not where these businesses are? They are big businessmen right at Rumpi Boma and even the surrounding constituencies who can easily make it to Rumpi, but it's not as easy to go all the way to Mzuzu, to go all the way to Blantyre. But trust me, as their representatives, we are confident that MCCI can and has value for them. I submit for your responses.
Thank you very much, Chair, through you, and thank you to your committee members for the questions that you've asked. First of all, let me address the issue of where does MITC end and where do we begin? I think one of the key things is that we do work in collaboration, and so MITC, yes, works also directly to look at facilitating investment. So as a regulator, looking at the regulatory requirements. But for us, what we now advocate for is the actual business operation. So it's like they are helping bring the baby in. So once the baby is there, now how does that baby start walking, crawling, and then as they grow? So I think that's where we also come in. And then as a regulator, because they also contribute to the business environment and help us to advocate, we do work in close collaboration with them to ensure that there is that support, and also ensuring that investors are actually being promoted, and also for the Malawi businesses, their products are also being promoted. And we've seen that there's still potential to even do a lot more. I think this is an area that we think we can actually even work a bit further and stronger together to really look at how we promote Malawi as a nation and as a trading nation. I think on the tourism part, the figures that I quoted when looking at 700 and 800,000, yes, if you look at what we have, it is quite small. But it also shows that there's potential to do more. I think one of the things that we've seen is that the expense and also the cost of traveling to Malawi. The other day we were looking at flights, potential flights to Egypt, and there were almost 8 to 10 million kwacha. So if someone is coming in and they're looking at spending over $3,000 before they even land, that actually also can be a big detractor. But what we've also seen is that by increasing the routes that are flying through Malawi, people are getting to know Malawi a bit more. We've seen that there are quite a number of people that are actually using Malawi as a connecting route from Johannesburg to Dar es Salaam, because there's a direct flight to Dar es Salaam, and even Lusaka and Harare. So some of the recommendations that we've actually also made under the new economic recovery plan is to look at such connectivity and also increasing the volume and also the connectivity through Malawi, because when we start increasing our passenger numbers, the cost eventually will come down. But right now, I think we've seen that that has been gradual. But the other opportunity, Honorable Chair, are also other areas of tourism. So we've been working with one of our members, Blantyre Adventist Hospital, because medical tourism is also one big area that Malawi can capitalize on. We do have hospitals in Blantyre that have got good equipment, and they've been hosting quite a number. And if you notice now, for Maiwatu and Blantyre Adventist, they actually have Portuguese translators, because we get a lot of patients from Mozambique. So through the chamber, we were able to also apply for a waiver last time for them to be able to accept payment in foreign currency, because we also think that this is also going to help us boost our foreign reserves. So this is also a product that we can actively promote as Malawi, and also looking at other hospitals and other facilities that we have, because this would be charged at commercial rates. So these are areas that we think are also growth opportunities for Malawi. Over the years, yes, we've talked about the trade fair, but allow me, Honorable Chair, to also just talk about the period that I have been overseeing the organization. So what we've done is, with each fair, we now track what deals have been struck and also how they are continuing. So after the fair, because we noted that just post-COVID, it almost became like a flea market. So people just come and sell products that they have. And sometimes even by the third day, you find that there's nothing because people have sold it. So what we now do is, before we actually now also look at what is the theme that we're trying to promote for this fair, and we target organization based on that theme. So last year we were looking at the auto industry. So we had quite a number that were actually displaying their EVs. They were displaying their electrical scooters because we saw that that was also an area of potential. And some that even came to the agriculture fair because we were looking at commercial agriculture. And then we brought in banks and financiers that would come in and talk to the farmers to actually see how they can structure a deal. So we've been purposeful when we're designing the theme of the fair. So I think just to give you some of the data from this last fair that we've had, we had some sales of solar energy products over 500 million, and then some actual concrete contracts that are also now being supplied. We've seen that on packaging materials, OG Plastics, who have now designed new packaging materials, have now signed deals with Salima Sugar and Ilovo. The trade program brought in farmers that are trading and producing for beef, honey, and milk. So those have also signed contracts with potential suppliers. And during the National Agriculture Fair, as I said, we were looking at promoting commercialization, and from the records that we had, about 150 million worth of equipment was actually sold to smallholder farmers to try and improve commercialization. And on the also looking at future collaboration, MOBAS also participated in the National Agriculture Fair, and they've been looking at innovation for products that farmers can actually use in improving productivity. So those are some of the things that we've done. We've been, in a way, purposeful to try and drive some of the agenda, looking at what are the things that are critical for Malawi right now. I think on the issue of why are businesses not registering, I think there are certain businesses that probably were also not aware. Like, I think you've already mentioned that maybe in some of the other areas, businesses might not be quite sure is what is the value that the chamber is bringing to us. So you've seen that through the last 2 years, we've really tried to reach out and actually encourage even our publications, but also have more outreach to other areas. And the reason why we've now been hosting these regional fairs as well and activities is to try and have that outreach. As part of our strategy, we looked at the key centers of Zomba, Mangoji, Salima, and Karonga as potential areas, because right now we only have offices in Mzuzu, Lilongwe, and Blantyre. But our limiting factor has been the resources, because we do use members' fees and also the income we generate from the fairs. But we've actually tried to also capitalize on some of the partnerships. And once we also understand some of the challenges that are being faced in the different hubs, my colleague Wezi has spoken about our partnership with MRA, for example. There were a number of challenges that we identified when we engaged with the business community in Karonga. So we then briefed MRA to look at how they can also engage with the business community there. But that has also informed now our strategy on how we continue to engage with them. As also part of our strategy, we're also looking at how we can work with the city councils and the district councils, because within those sectors, we know that the Ministry of Trade is always available, or the Ministry of Agriculture. So we're now trying to see how we can collaborate with such to try and provide better services, because once we start getting members, we know that that would actually also provide for an opportunity and resources to be able to sustain officers within those districts. We were actually encouraged and challenged when we went to Tanzania, because in Tanzania, every district has got a chamber office, and they actually also have an office in China that is sponsored and supported by the chamber itself independently, because they have about 22,000 members. So for us, that is also a challenge, and we, through our collaboration, and we invited the CEO of the Tanzania Chamber of Commerce to actually also talk to the business community here, to actually see how the business community itself can really resource the chamber to be able to reach out to more businesses, because by working together, they know that they can strengthen their role in influencing economic growth. So those are some of the areas that we are looking at to see how we can continue to support the growth of the members, but also ensuring that the voice of the private sector is really present, especially when it comes to policy formulation. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, CEO, for both your presentation and the responses given to the committee on the interventions that we've made. I now move to the closing formalities. First, let me thank you for honoring our invitation and appearing here in person. We invited you to enlighten us on the work that you're doing, and you have seen how the committee is very much interested in your work. We believe that the private sector is the driver of this economy, and we are therefore imploring on you to continue your good work, and the following recommendations as drawn from our questions will therefore be shared with you. One, that you consider seriously on increasing awareness so that you may reach out to more. There is great potential, and we believe that if you can intentionally increase awareness, there are more members coming. And those are the members we represent, but also they are the key players of the economy, and we would love them to be as organized as possible. In the same vein, we also would like to encourage you to consider, in reaching out to many, getting closer to the people, to where these businesses are. It's one thing to raise the awareness, it's one thing to have the services that you have, but when you are in Blantyre, it's not easy for the potential members to sustainably remain with you. Therefore, get closer to them, and we stand ready. We would like to also share with you our recommendation on keeping contact with us. We are your committee. Our 3 roles, the first and the most important after review of the laws, is representation. So we have to represent our people. We have to represent the business community. We want to speak for you, and we want to speak on your behalf. We don't want to stand up and advocate for an environment which will kill the private sector. But how do we do that best is when we are in touch and we understand where and how you feel it would work. Let me recommend you already, because you've been kind, sharing sometimes your publications, very informative. They've shaped my interaction with other stakeholders. I hope we can do more and put it even more formal. It's one thing here you've promised to share your most recent publication. We'll read, yes. However, an opportunity, if it was there, it was better to even utilize this platform to go through that with us, to walk us through it. So on all important matters, please reach out to your committee so that we can be taken through and we can own those recommendations. CEO, we want to also recommend that you up your game on following up of on the potential deals that come from the international fairs that you hold. I have participated in both the agriculture fair as someone supporting farmers at that time, and in that capacity, I noticed how my farmers would get the demand, but not effective demand. Not because the potential of takers did not have money, because I think that's the simplest definition in economics. They had the money, but there was no support further than just exposing them to the opportunity. But I've learned today you have a fully fledged department of business development. What if we can support that these deals come to fruition? CEO, I will now turn to the last one on what we wanted to recommend to you after this conversation. The face of our trade fair. We will love as your committee, and we can be your advocates to see the face uplifted so that it fits the direction that we have taken. The kind of delegation that we hosted in the very recent trade fair, I saw there more than 4 ambassadors. I saw from there really a high-powered delegation from Tanzania, Mozambique, Zambia. And then I said, whoa, here's an opportunity. So we need to give them an impression. What our cities feel, I know they say the first thing is as you're coming to our airports, as you're flying in, you see poverty. But I want them, as they drive to the trade fair grounds from their hotels, let them see the international trade fair. Also encourage the exhibitors to match with our vision as chambers. Hearing you, CEO, you really mean business, and you really want to see the internationality in the fair. Sometimes we may be let down by the exhibitors. It's high time you set high standards for them, and they really do a good job going forward. But otherwise, let me congratulate you for a well organized trade fair that I personally went. The interest that I told you was because of this honorable committee. I want us to be on top of the game so that we give you the necessary support. Honorable members, reaching this far, we mark not the end, but the beginning of a partnership and a continued engagement with the MCCCI. CEO, you may have a word or two for your committee. I give you 2 minutes.
Honorable Chairperson, thank you so much, first of all, for the invitation, and thank you to your committee members for the active engagement. I think the questions were really thought-provoking and enabled us to actually also share what we do. So we really want to thank you for such an opportunity and that engagement. And you've also indicated some of the recommendations that you've made to us. We're thankful to that, and we'll ensure that we also take these on. I know that the biggest challenge that we carry now is to really look at how we are going to put the plans for redevelopment into reality. I think implementation is always a challenge, so we'd want to make sure that we are also ensuring we are living up to our expectations and delivering trade fair grounds that we can all be proud of. And I also thank you for the other recommendations that your committee has made. And as you've said, this is the beginning of an active engagement. And I do believe that that is also going to be one of the main advocacy areas that is going to help us as a chamber. Because most of the times, especially when we are promoting anything on policy, some of the members will ask us, but do they listen? Do they hear what you're saying? Is anything going to change? So I'm really happy that we are meeting the actual lawmakers, the ones that actually make the final decision on what policies Malawi is going to engage. And this direct engagement, I pray, will also help us on that policy advocacy, because that will continue to build confidence for the business community. I think most of the times, if people feel they can talk to any regulator or any member of parliament or any minister or president directly, then they feel they don't need the chamber. But if the chamber is empowered and becomes the real voice of the private sector because our recommendations are taken up, that will encourage more membership and actually reinforce our role. So I thank you so much for this opportunity, and you've also helped us to also spread the word of what the chamber is, and we hope that even through this engagement, others are going to take up that decision to join the chamber and make sure that the voice of the private sector is really strong and it's building towards an economy that we can all be proud of, and the next generation is also going to be proud of. Thank you so much, Honorable Chair, for this opportunity, and to my team, we thank you so much for enabling us an opportunity to come and talk to you and share our ideas. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those remarks. We wish you well as you travel back to Blantyre. And before you leave, I'll invite you to tea. It's ready outside. CEO, the parting word will be, never at any point let this committee of yours operate from the point of ignorance. Let them operate from a point of knowledge. And the knowledge is with you as professionals. We are the political leadership, but you hold the technical know-how, and you know your industry better. Please consider engaging your committee. I want Mzimbaluwereze to confidently stand up and say our trade fair grounds needs to be facelifted because he has seen another in Dar es Salaam. I don't know how he will get there. I thank you very much. And honorable members, at this point, I will let the stakeholder go, but I invite you to stay behind for just some few communications. CEO and team, thank you very much, and at your pleasure, you may take leave.